So you spend all this time building a beautiful website and now you want to sell it and make the best money possible. Well, I've sold 2 websites in the last 2-3 months, and the process is actually a lot more straightforward than you first think. So the first thing you have to do, you have to find a buyer. You can do this from a website like Empire Flippers or any other similar website. But the problem with this is they take a ridiculous 10 to 15% commission, which is daylight robbery considering how it's extremely easy to sell a website if you know what you're doing. I recommend either creating ads on the sidebar of the website you're trying to sell, because obviously the people on your website are probably interested in the niche and they're interested in having their own passive income business. Or I recommend joining a business forum where you can use the promotion section. With the course that changed my life forever, there's a promotion forum, and using that forum I sold 2 of my websites very easily without much effort on my part. I think it's better to sell your website in a business forum like this, because not only do people know and understand the true value of websites, the process will go a lot more smoothly when someone else knows what they have to do on their side. And you have to think, the course that I'm talking about is only $450 to sign up for the first year. You got to imagine, if you're selling your website for $100,000 and you're selling it via Empire Flipper and they take 10%, that's taking $10,000 of your hard-earned money like that without doing anything in return. So the second thing you want to do is sell the website in something called Escrow. And what Escrow is a third-party company that holds the money and only will release the fund when buyer is satisfied that they got all the files from the seller. So what you want to do is, as the seller, you want to initiate the sale as the seller. You want to choose the domain name that you're selling. You want to split the escrow fees 50-50. So this means that 50% will be paid by the seller, 50% will be paid by the buyer. I think making the buyer spend 100% of the selling fees is a bit cheeky, and generally it's done 50%, 50%. Now, if you're finding value in this video, please like, because it helps it spread to more people. And you're going to pay roughly $45. I sold my website for $2,799 and I got back $2,745, so it's around. The buyer will be sent an email, because you're going to have to fill in all the buyer information, their name, their address. So initially make sure you know the buyer's name, their address, because you're going to need this information later, their telephone number, all this information. So once payment is sent, you will get sent an email from Escrow where you log into your Escrow and it will say submit the domain to the buyer. So free transferring the domain. You want to make sure on Bluehost or any other hosting platform that the domain is primary and not locked. Because when I sold one of my websites, a combat sports guy, because it was the primary domain, I couldn't transfer it. So make sure it's not the primary domain and make sure it's unlocked. So to clone the website, I recommend using something called Manage WordPress to clone your website. You only have to pay a small price of something like $2 a month in order to do this, and it's super worth it because it's simple. You just download the files and that's it. And it also has the benefit of creating daily backups for your website. So in case something goes wrong with your website, boom, you have a backup. You want to send a file using something like Google Drive, so just, create the Google Drive document and send it to your buyer by email. You can't send it via email because the files are too big. Now, if the buyer is not using the same hosting platform, so for example, if you use Bluehost and the other person uses GoDaddy, you're going to have to get the EPP authorization code. And the way you do this is via Bluehost. I apologize for anyone who doesn't have Bluehost. You log into your Bluehost cPanel account. You select the domain from the top of the list. You select the domain from the list. You click on EPP transfer tab on the right. Here you will see the EPP code, which will be required by your new register in order to initiate the transfer. And fourth, you're waiting for payment. Now, initially when you set up a period where the buyer has X amount of days in order to inspect your domain. I chose 3 days. I don't think it really matters, because if the person wants to buy the domain, they want to initiate the transfer ASAP, then you want to wait for payment. Now, this is important. If you're outside the US, you're going to need a bank account that can accept dollars. So using something like Payoneer does not work. It has to be an established US bank. If you're from the UK, you can sign up to Starling business account, and then you can pay £5 a month in order to get a Starling US account. But just have a look, Google what of my banks in my country accept US dollars, and then you can get started on your domain name transfer. Now after this, it's all finished. Now remember, you want to get at least 28 to 40 times your monthly revenue in order to sell your domain. So if you're making $1,000 a month for your website, you want to be selling it for at least 28,000 to 40,000. Less 28,000 if you don't have a lot of posts that are ranking, and 40,000 is you have info products to the site, you might have a course attached to the site, you might have a lot of content that hasn't ranked yet. But anyway, choose that spectrum. If your website isn't making any money yet, like my last 2 domains were actually quite young sites, use a price that someone should be expected to pay for the content on your site. I hope you found this video helpful. See you in the next one. Goodbye.